and Dixon Landing, so right at the border of Milpitas. And currently that's also in that EIR process. King and Lion is the developer there. It's approximately 400,000 square feet of larger retail is slated to go there. Right now, Target has signed a letter of intent. Nordstrom Rack, yay! We need apparel in Fremont, and Broadway Shoes, another yay. So those tenants have signed letters of intent, and we're excited to have that move along. Let's see, housing. Oh, another project that may be of interest is Times Square, yes, at Mission and Warm Springs, and that will be anchored by Marina Foods. So we're lucky to be able to have another grocery store to serve our changing demographics and that need.
Is that a giant large deal too?
Somewhat, and we have that. So he really is busy with Fremont. We're very fortunate to have that development going. Other businesses that are coming in terms of more of the other types of businesses, we have an Acura dealership that is being built now. That will be another addition to our auto mall, the auto mall there, as well as clean tech. So we have a new business, Cylindra. They took the HMT building, which was the big, large red building on I-80. Now it's blue, and we're very excited that businesses are looking to Fremont, especially clean tech businesses, and they're finding synergy with the other existing businesses there. And you may have read recently in an article about a month or so ago that businesses are finding the rents and the lease rates in Fremont very affordable in Silicon Valley, so we're fortunate for that, staying very competitive. And then in terms of housing, we've been fortunate that the hit in the subprime market and the foreclosures haven't really affected Fremont too greatly, and so we're very fortunate with that. We have new housing that continues to be built and developed. We have about 8 projects, I think, throughout Fremont that have recently been built out or are in the process now to being built, and that would be single family homes and higher density. And so we're excited to have that mix as well in Fremont. And we'll defer to Commissioner Monacourt, see if you want to add.
Sure. Yeah, we been Dajahao. First of all, I want to thank you. I'm actually here with somewhat of a different angle because I'm not staff and an appointed commissioner. I want to acknowledge Mayor Wasserman for having appointed me. I was going to congratulate him now before I speak because he won't accept the congratulations after. But, so I'm very honored to do it. I'm actually before I talk about myself, I think it's a little bit important to talk about your organization. You're celebrating your 20th year this year, as I understand. And I'm a grandson of immigrants on both sides of my family, and I understand the importance of fraternal organizations of helping the assimilation process to be to preserve one's culture, but at the same time to reach out confidently in the larger American societies. The work that you do is terrific. I understand one of the things that, we have 2 of us from Fremont. We've got to have 2 people because we have to travel the furthest, but
for carpooling, right?
Yeah, we carpool, yes. But I also want to acknowledge I'm a lifelong resident of Fremont, but he's not broadcasting this, but he went to the same high school that I did in Fremont. So we actually have 3 people here from Fremont. So he was getting weighted a little bit further to the left here. But I practice law. I'm a graduate of Santa Clara University, both undergraduate and law school. And in the same way that this organization started out in the Santa Clara Valley of Arts, and Cupertino and Sunnyvale, with John's reascendance as president, I think it's important to strengthen this organization in Milpitas and in Fremont because there is quite a vibrant, as you know, Asian American community in our town. And that's where I've been practicing. I do some real estate law, so if you want to talk about transfer disclosure statements or buyer brokers' duties to buyers and sellers, I can do that as well. But what we're doing in Fremont on the Planning Commission for them, and I know we have another planning commissioner here from Saratoga, I believe, but what is important is for us is we're going through our general plan update. And that only happens every 20 years. And as you may know, there are 7 required elements: land use, circulation, housing, a conservation element, open space, a noise element, and a safety element. But normally that's a 20-year cycle. But one element that I brought a handout, and Angela was kind of had it distributed, was this housing background report. And again, this is a little bit different than what's coming online. Angela did a terrific job of talking about it from Fremont. We've heard it from other people. But I think this is actually quite a useful tool, not only if you have your practice in Fremont, but wherever, it be in Cupertino or Sunnyvale, because the government code requires that the housing element be updated every 5 years. And this is a terrific demographic tool to understand your marketplace. It's reduced at taxpayer expense. But I would imagine that the value of this, if you were to do it through RE/MAX, through Prudential, or through one of your proprietary means, would be far more expensive to do. But this is available. This is online. It's online. It would presumably be online at the other municipalities as well. And I don't know if your industry, I would think this would be part of your standard of care, that this is something that you have in terms of developing a market share to understand what's happening in your communities in order to develop your niche marketing. But as it relates to let me describe what the housing report does. And again, this would be true for all the jurisdictions. That it must evaluate the current housing market in a community and then identify the programs that can meet these housing needs. The evaluation includes a review of the housing stock, household incomes, and availability of land and infrastructure, among other things. So if you want to know what is your market share, what is the median rate price for the housing, this is an excellent tool. And so one of the things that's covered is very similar to San Jose. We used to be a very agrarian city. We've grown up, we've had to grow up, but the population is stabilized. We're only going to be growing from 200,000 now to about 217,000 by 2030, and it's a very, very small growth rate. We used to have huge, we were 25,000 people in 1956, and we went to 200,000 by 2000. The household size, very interesting development. In 1970, we used to have 4 persons per house. It went all the way down to 2.5, 2.6. Now it's beginning an increase again, and there's several factors. Again, if you don't have more houses, you don't have more people to live. But also it's a reflection of our demographic change in Fremont, where you have larger families moving in. One of the things that also distinguishes Fremont is our housing ownership. 65% of the total units, or 44,000 units, are owner-occupied. So this means that people, once they live here, they really do establish roots. There may be less of a turnover rate in terms of your housing stock here in Fremont than you have in some of the other communities. 11% of our household have at least somebody that's 65 years or older. And this is, again, an interesting subgroup because only 26% of them are renters. 74% are owner-occupied. So if I'm marketing, I'm realizing that we have an older population gradually getting older. It's even skewed more towards owner-occupied. How do we make an outreach to make available sales in the future in the next 5 to 10 years? And that would be fascinating to do a comparison with the other jurisdictions. One of the distinguishing things about Fremont is we're extremely diverse. 10% of our households in Fremont are what are termed linguistically isolated, which I think is a pejorative term. I don't like that term, but that's the term that's used, which means that the definition is that somebody that's 14 years old or over, English is not their language. They speak primarily a Chinese, Mandarin, or maybe Korean in Fremont. And there's a graph of that on page 16 of the report, but of that, 18% of the linguistically isolated communities in our town are Asian, which I would think predominantly are people that speak Mandarin or Cantonese. So again, there is a terrific market niche for this organization for people that need to have resources and would not be reaching out to the larger community. They would want to have a real estate agent or a broker being able to speak their own language. Fremont is unique in that regard. Vacancy rate, 0.6%, very, very low for owner-occupied. And we're only going to slow down to about 5% per decade for growth. And then I guess I can answer later on our jobs to housing growth, but I just thought, what does this mean for you? Again, this is an excellent tool if you're trying to figure out how am I going to make an outreach to Fremont, how am I going to do it to Sunnyvale, San Jose, Santa Clara. I would highly recommend finding the housing background reports in your communities. And I'll just conclude conclude by saying, wo ai jun hua.